Good evening, or good afternoon, good morning, whatever time of day it is if you're watching this back on the replay. Hi, thank you for tuning in. Today I'm talking all about SAD, Seasonal Affective Disorder. So let me start by explaining what it is and whether or not it's worth you carrying on listening. So this video is not just for people who suffer from SAD or Seasonal Affective Disorder. I'm going to start off by explaining what it is, and if any of these things resonate with you, if any of the things that I discuss or mention are something that you experience, as in the symptoms of, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have seasonal affective disorder, though you might do. But if those symptoms are something that impact you, then you will want to listen on to the rest of this video, because there'll be some hints and tips that can help you, because we all an awful lot of us, it is part of the human condition, particularly in the UK and other areas further away from the equator, will be impacted by some of the things that I'm going to discuss today. And if none of this applies to you, great, fantastic. But it might be worth considering, if you know people around you who experience similar things, please share it with them in case it could be of use to them, and it might help you to consider and think about how they feel about things. Good evening to everyone who's tuning in live. Hey LJ, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in. Good to see you here. So let's start by explaining what SAD is. So it's seasonal affective disorder. From this point on, I'm just going to call it SAD because it's a mouthful otherwise, right? So everything that I cover after this initial explanation will be aimed at the most common form of SAD. So SAD is exactly that. It's a seasonal affective disorder. So it's a disorder, which makes it sound really big and scary, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can't overcome it and work around it, which is affected seasonally. So based on what season it is, it makes you feel moody. That's a really bad summary. But basically, yeah, depression or a negative impact on your mood based on the season. Most commonly, this affects people in winter months. There are absolutely people who are affected by it through the summer months. If that is you, then some of these tips and the majority of the focus of this, because it's less common, won't really be aimed at you. Some of it will be really useful for you anyway. And of course, I'd still be happy to help you and to have a chat with you. So if you are someone who's affected by seasonally affective disorder during the summer and the good weather, then please do get in touch and we'll have a chat, and I'll aim it more at you. But of course, the majority of people experiencing SAD experience it during the colder months, the winter months, partly because of the darker, shorter days and darker, longer nights. Oh, that wasn't very well put, but I hope that made sense. You're very welcome. I'm more than happy to cover this. And yes, awareness is so important. So if you're watching this thinking, what is he waffling on about? If people just feel sad in the winter, why don't they put on a light? Actually, that is one thing that can help, but it's not as simple as that. So let's start by looking at the cause then. What is the cause of SAD? Well, we don't know. Medical professionals and psychologists have studied this for some time, and we don't actually have a definitive answer on what causes SAD. Yes, there are considerations and things that that we know play a part in it, but we don't know for certain what actually causes SAD. So if you are watching this thinking, well, why don't people just be happier? If only it were that simple. Now, it kind of can be that simple, but it's not that easy, and it takes a bit more than that. Okay, so we don't know the cause, but we know what it is. So how do we identify it? Okay, so there's a list, if you like, of key symptoms that we would be looking for, or that a doctor, for example, would be looking for to diagnose a case of SAD. So Sarah Higgs, vitamin D, innit? Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Just take some vitamin D and you'll magically feel all better. Do you know what? That does play a part in it. Absolutely. It plays a huge part in it, but it's not just about vitamin D levels. Okay, so depression. That's kind of so SAD is generally categorized as a type of depression, so a specific category of depression, if you like. So feeling depressed most of the day, most days. Um, if that's you, and it happens specifically at a particular time of the year regularly, then that's most likely SAD. A loss of interest in activities that you would otherwise find interesting or that you'd be interested in, low energy, sleep. So if you've got the most common form of SAD, that often takes the form of sleeping too much, or if you do struggle to get to sleep, but you then sleep enough, wanting to sleep longer, or never feeling like you've had enough sleep, or just being able to sleep all day, and still feeling like you just want to go to bed. So sleeping too much, most commonly for this version. Weight and appetite can be hugely affected. So again, slightly different in the summer months. It tends to be actually a loss of appetite, whereas in the winter months, the most common form, and the part that I'm talking about now, given the time of year, it's craving more carbs, having a huge appetite, never feeling or not necessarily as easily feeling satiated or full, and putting on weight, whereas in summer it's more likely it would be about losing weight. Feeling sluggish, getting more easily agitated, struggling to concentrate and focus, feeling hopeless, worthless, guilty, particularly feeling bad that you're letting people down because you're feeling depressed or lethargic and you don't want to be going out and doing stuff. That's a really common thing here, that people feel bad and then beat themselves up for feeling bad, which makes them feel worse, and it exacerbates the situation. And suicidal or morbid thoughts, so thoughts about death or about suicide, tend to be the more extreme cases. If that's you, please reach out and talk to someone. It can be me, great, I'm absolutely here for you. It can be your GP, it can be another professional. Even if not, then reach out and talk to a friend. Professionals will understand that having suicidal thoughts and morbid thoughts about death, that doesn't mean that you're instantly, that they're going to stop you from going out and that's it. There's, you're on suicide watch. Professionals understand that it is not uncommon to have those thoughts and to feel that way. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to act upon it. So if that's you, please do reach out and talk to someone. And if that person's me, great, go for it. Drop me a message right now. I'll get back to you after I've done this live, or get in touch when you feel comfortable, because absolutely you shouldn't have to worry about those thoughts stopping you from getting help and support. So great, I'm glad I've reminded you to eat. And yes, cancelling plans and forgetting plans. And people who know you and understand, I'm sure they will understand. People who are watching this who don't really understand what it's like to experience SAD, don't take it personally and just keep asking. If you've got someone that you know who's, and this isn't just SAD, this is depression in general. If you know someone who's struggling or suffering or feeling that way a lot, reach out. And if they cancel your plans or if they say no, that's okay. Keep going. If you don't beat yourself up if you don't find it easy to keep doing that and making those plans, but understand that just because someone says no and keeps saying no doesn't mean that they don't appreciate being asked, and that the answer is always going to be no. Okay, so if you're experiencing any of those, then the rest of this video could be helpful. If you're experiencing a lot of those, then there's a very good chance that unless it's an ongoing thing that happens throughout the year. If it's something you tend to feel regularly at this time of year, and as the days get shorter, the nights get longer, then there's a good chance you're experiencing SAD. So, okay, I said we don't know what causes it, but I did say that there are a few key factors that are at play. So there's three big things that play a part, or a huge part, in SAD. One is your circadian rhythm. Okay, so throughout the day, we go through natural rhythms, bodily rhythms, which we adapt to and we're used to, and that they are largely influenced by, and he said controlled by, but influenced by sunlight as much as anything else. So the sunrise to sunset tends to be, or does play, a big part in regulating our natural bodily rhythm, so our circadian rhythm specifically. So one of the reasons why people experience SAD, and particularly why it's more common in the winter, is because less sunlight, or the sun coming up later, makes it harder for us to regulate that rhythm, and the dips tend to be longer dips, basically. It's a really simplified way of putting it. So sunlight plays a big part in that, and you'll notice a theme. I'll explain a bit more about that in a moment. I will come back to it. Another is serotonin. So the level of serotonin in your brain, it's not right to think of your brain as like some kind of chemical soup. This is what tends to happen when you talk about serotonin levels, melatonin levels, which I'll come on to in a minute. And generally when people talk about depression, they talk about the chemical balance of the mind, of the brain, sorry. And while it's true, absolutely true, that chemicals within the brain will be different in someone who is experiencing depression. Absolutely, and that's why antidepressants, which I'll come to and talk more about, can be so useful for some people in the right situation. Actually, we don't fully understand how they work. So I'm going to talk a lot about SSRIs, which is selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which sounds really fancy, but you've probably heard of them, called things like Prozac. That's kind of the well-known American brand name. They stop the brain from reuptaking, so reabsorbing serotonin that's floating around. And so it's easy when you think about it like that to imagine the brain as this kind of like chemical soup that's off balance, and you just need to put a bit more of that in or a bit less of that. But that's really inaccurate, and not actually a very useful way of looking at it at all. Chemicals within the brain play a big part in your mood and a big part in regulating your rhythms, and so it does bear paying attention to, but not necessarily in the format that we normally do. So serotonin and melatonin both play a really big part in this. Serotonin makes you feel, it's most commonly thought of as the hormone that makes you feel good. And melatonin is often referred to as the sleep hormone and the hormone that makes you feel sleepy. That's a huge oversimplification in both cases, and not entirely accurate, especially with melatonin. Melatonin doesn't make you feel sleepy. What it does is it prepares the body for a better quality of sleep. It prepares the body to go to sleep, but it doesn't actually make you feel sleepy per se. But it does play a really important role. And so this is where SAD and sleep often go hand in hand. If you're really struggling to wake up in the mornings and then you're lethargic through the day, that's also likely to then have that knock-on effect of making it harder to sleep at night. And it tends to be that by the evening, the lack of sunlight plays such a big part. So the pineal gland, which is kind of here-ish, is directly fed from the retinal nerve, and that is the part of your brain that, or a part of your brain that plays a big part in regulating the production and release of serotonin and melatonin and that balance, and it's activated by sunlight, so directly through the eyes. So when you wake up, you see lots of sunlight, you feel more awake because serotonin's going, hey, it's time to be awake now. Let's produce less melatonin, more serotonin, and be more awake. And then it gets dark at nighttime and the lights go out. And so you're getting less light through the eyes. And so then your body's saying, okay, let's produce more melatonin, prepare the body for sleep. That's a really simple explanation of the balance between serotonin and melatonin. There's obviously way more than that. Yeah, I am proper geeking out on this. So I hope you're keeping up. If not, just skip forward a moment and then we'll get back into the simplification. But yeah, so that balance of serotonin and melatonin plays a huge part in regulating your circadian rhythm, your bodily rhythm, as well as your circannual rhythm. Which is through the year we have different rhythms as well as through the day. So it plays a big part in that. And this is why people can get really at this time of year, because the nights are longer, it's darker, it's colder. Those don't have to be bad things, but our language is often used in such a way that makes these things even exaggerates this even more. We talk about when it's cold and wet, we call that miserable weather. Well, who decided you have to be miserable just because it's cold and wet? When we talk about good things and bad things, we'll quite often say that good things are light and happy and bad things are sad and dark. Darkness isn't a bad thing, but we tend to exacerbate and exaggerate these things by using that kind of language and having those associations with them. So you can turn that around. Okay, anyway, back on track, Duncan. So when we look at those symptoms and when we look at the causes and the things that exacerbate it, that helps us to look at and understand things that we can do to make it easier on ourselves, things that we can do to improve the situations for ourselves. So there are three main clinical approaches to treating or managing SAD and its symptoms. Three main ones, and then my one. So yeah, there are three main interventions that the NHS would use, for example, and in the States they use a very similar approach. One is light therapy. One is antidepressants and SSRIs. And one is talking therapy. And specifically in the UK, the NHS will use CBT as their approach. But then there are also a load of things that you can do yourself, for yourself, but don't require that kind of assistance, which I will talk about afterwards as well. So, light therapy. Anyone watching in the comments, let me know, or even if you're watching on the replay, let me know in the comments and I'll come back and respond. If you've ever used light therapy and what your personal experience of it has been. So light therapy, what is it? How does it work? This is something you can do for yourself. One thing I will say, if you are diagnosed or suspect that you may have BPD, so that's bipolar, then I would not recommend this without discussing it first with your doctor or therapist. Really important to consider that because it can actually enhance your manic episodes and such. So that's not to say it won't work for you or that you can't use it, just that you should discuss it with an expert first before you do. That's something that you won't necessarily hear many people talking about, so do consider that. So thanks, LJ, fantastic. Started using a light last year, definitely helps. Cool. So let me tell you how to use it. Now, I'm sure that you probably already know and you use it really well, but for those other people that are listening that have heard about it, considered the idea, maybe even got a light, but never really seen the benefit or don't really know how to use it or what you're doing with it, allow me to cover that for you now. So first thing, the first mistake that I see is people go, oh, yeah, great, I've got this light. I'm going to put it on the shelf over there. And in fact, I I was having a look to see what the prices were like today before doing this live, and I'm looking on Amazon, and nearly all of them have the product pointing more towards the camera than the individual, which was quite interesting as you look through the pictures. But yeah, they'll have it like there shining at them, and that's great while they're working and carrying on. Now, it is great. One of the great things about light therapy is that you can do it while you're doing anything else at all. You don't need to be focused on it. It takes no attention other than having a light pointing at you. But make sure the light is pointing at you and at your eyes, because stimulating the pineal gland through the eyes is an important key part of it. So ideally have it in front of you or in front of where you're working, shining at you, especially because most of our work tends to involve looking at a keyboard or looking at paper or looking at something that's on our desk. So having the light on the desk that points up at you is actually quite a good way of doing it. A lot of them are designed that way, which makes it a lot easier. But yeah, have it in front of you or close to in front of you, off to one side. You can't see my hand on the camera, but yeah, just down there. But have it pointing up at your face so that your eyes are so it's actually shining on your eyes. That will help. Be consistent with it. Don't expect that you're going to put it on for 5 hours today and then not do it again for a week, and that's going to work brilliantly well for you, because it doesn't work like that. Excellent. So LJ has hers next to her PC screen, and the other side is a window. Brilliant. That is the perfect setup for it. So yeah, be consistent with it. It takes approximately a week, sometimes a bit longer, so a week to 2 weeks maybe, for the effects of using a S.A.D light or light therapy to really take effect. So don't expect to use it for a day or a couple of days and then magically feel better. It's not something where as you put that on, you instantly feel better as the light shines on you for longer. And that may happen, and that's great if it does, but don't expect magic like that. It's about using it consistently, and it normally takes around a week of consistent use to start to really notice and feel the benefits. That's not to say the benefits don't start sooner, but it takes time for you to really notice them and experience them. Other things to look out for: you want one that is at least 10,000 lux. Okay, so the light that's given off, the wavelength that's useful that's given off is measured in lux, LUX, and you want one that is at least 10,000 lux. Again, I was looking through and I found one that was adjustable, so you could have it at 10,000 or you could have it at less, because that would give a different colored glow, and wouldn't that be lovely and feel nicer? Doesn't work as effectively and as well. There's a reason why 10,000 lux is what we aim for, because obviously that gives you the best benefit. Having something that's far lower will not have as good an effect. You can go higher, there's no need to, but yeah, having something that's lower, you would need to be exposing yourself to it for much longer, and it's going to have far less benefit. So yeah, 10,000 lux or more, and you want to have it 16 to 24 inches away from your face, basically like 40 to 60 centimeters away from your face is the ideal. Anything more than that, and you start to diminish the benefits that it's going to have. So you would then at that point need to go over the 10,000 lux to really get the same benefit from it. It starts to then cost you a lot more in electricity if you're going to try and do that, and it's just more tricky. So yeah, have it nice and close. So next to the PC screen is probably about the right distance to have it. That's a great place for it. What else? How long do you use it? How long should you use it for? 20 to 30 minutes a day. So that's all you need. You can do it for more. There's no reason why you can't do it for longer. But 20 to 30 minutes a day is about what you want. And that's not made up of lots of little 5 minutes. It's better to have it all in one go. So 20 to 30 minutes of sitting, working at your desk with that on would be perfect. I'd of course be tempted to aim for the longer side of that for myself if I were to use it. So Yeah, that's what it needs. If you are going to be dipping in and out, if you're not going to be able to be in that one place for that length of time, then measure it by the amount of time spent actually in front of that light within that distance. And when do you use it? Mornings. Early in the morning, especially. Not like get up at 1 a.m. and do it. That's not a good idea. But when you first get up is the best time for it. So if you have a routine, and of course it's good for your sleep and your mood generally to have a good consistent routine when it comes to sleep and wake up times. So if you have that routine, then let's say your routine is you get up at 7 o'clock. Great. Use the light at 7:30 if you can. Now, if you're the kind of person that gets up and goes and manically running around and then, I don't know, doing school runs or whatever it might be, then maybe that's not the best time for you. That's okay. Find what suits you. But if that's the case, then as soon as you're back from the school run would be the best time to start it. The earlier in the day that you can do it, the better. Because, and this comes back to improving the sleep pattern and the serotonin melatonin balance and your circadian rhythm, it all ties in with this. We're designed that when we wake up, we're designed to wake up when the sun comes up, right? And so having that burst of light first thing in the morning tells your body now's the time to be awake. If you're more awake in the morning, you're more likely to have more energy through the day, more likely to burn off more energy through the day, more likely to sleep better at night. It regulates your rhythms better, etc., etc., etc. I could waffle on for ages about the benefits of having that routine in place. But yeah, first thing in the morning is the best time to be using it. Avoid using it late at night. If that's the only time you can use it is in the evening, when you come home from work or whatever, then okay, by all means try that. If you start to find you're struggling to get to sleep, then that may actually be caused by the S.A.D light. So try it, find a way of doing it earlier in the day. Other things to consider. So I mentioned bipolar. That's a really important one. If you suffer from bipolar, especially if you've been diagnosed and you're on medication for it, then that is something to watch out for. If what else? Certain antipsychotics and certain antibiotics, and what's it called? That there's a herbal thing that a lot of people take, which will come to me in a moment. But they make you more sensitive to light, or some of them can make you more sensitive to light, particularly can make the skin more sensitive to light. So you want to check with whoever's prescribing that before you rely on light therapy, or at least bear it in mind that you could be exacerbating skin conditions and things like this if you're taking those. St. John's wort, that's it, St. John's wort. So St. John's wort, antibiotics, and some antipsychotics can make you more sensitive to light, so be aware of that. What side effects are you likely to get? Well, to be honest, no CBD. Okay, so James mentioned CBD, and actually there are many emerging studies that suggest, notice my careful wording there, but there are many emerging studies that suggest that CBD can actually be beneficial for depression, or to improve mood and to improve sleep quality. So you're not wrong there, but that's not what I meant by the herbal thing that some people take. But thank you for trying to help there. You did try, and it was a useful comment, because actually I wasn't going to mention CBD. I hadn't considered it, but it is something worth considering if you struggle with S.A.D and are looking for some extra support. So yes, side effects. There aren't really many. It's not something that you need to worry too much about, but be on the lookout for, if you start to experience a lot of eye strain or headaches, blurred vision or difficulty with your vision, or problems getting to sleep. Like I say, that's probably if you're using it too late in the day. Then these, if you weren't experiencing them before and you begin to experience them when using light therapy, that could be part of the cause. So be aware of that and obviously just stop or seek extra support and guidance. That's all right. Better late than never. Welcome to the live, Tristan. So I'm just talking about S.A.D. I've covered a lot already, so I won't recap it all for you, but by all means go back and watch it, and then you can find out more. So yeah, so that's light therapy. That's how to use those lights properly, and there's loads that you can get on Amazon and all over the place. If you're not sure and you want any help, by all means, if you find one, send me a link. I'll let you know if it looks any good to me from my limited experience with them. Okay, what else? SSRIs, that's the next thing. So I spoke about SSRIs, or antidepressants. SSRIs are a particular form of antidepressant, which is what would normally be diagnosed to aid people with S.A.D, or seasonal affective disorder. So I spoke a little bit about how SSRIs work and how they stop the body from reuptaking serotonin. So look, listen, there's a lot of stigma around drugs for mental health, antidepressants especially, and I'm not here to add to that. Here's my take, personal and professional opinion on antidepressants and other mental health medication. Firstly, let's equate it to physical health, because that makes it a lot easier to understand. If someone's broken their leg, they're going to be in a lot of pain. They're going to take painkillers. That's going to ease the pain. It's going to fix the symptom. But painkillers aren't going to fix the broken leg. They would go and they would get their leg reset. They might have it put in a cast to make sure that it heals correctly, and it will heal by itself. But they will aid it in healing, and to help you manage your symptoms of pain throughout that process, you may well take painkillers. Mental health is the same. If you're struggling with depression, and particularly if you're struggling with seasonal depression and you need extra support, don't be too proud to take medication. It's been designed for a reason. It's there to help you. However, isn't it better to deal with the root cause than just keep treating the symptoms? There's nothing wrong with taking antidepressants or any mental health medication, but make sure you're not just relying on that for treating your symptoms. Speak to someone who can help you get to the root cause, or can help you to, because you can always manage the symptoms in other ways. And if that helps you get to a point where you can heal, brilliant, use them. Just don't rely on them, because they can then lead to so many other things. That would be my personal take. There are people who would say that you can absolutely rely on them and accept that you'll be on them for life. And if they help you and that's your opinion on it, great, go forth. But absolutely reach out and talk to me if you want help to not have to rely on them anymore. Okay, so that's my take on SSRIs. If you do go down that route, then expect 4 to 6 weeks of taking them before you notice any result. A lot of people, what they do is they get diagnosed with this, they take it for a couple of weeks, which is enough time to get all the side effects, but not enough time to get any benefit from it. And they just go, no, I don't like it. I don't really feel like myself, and it's not helping me, so I'm going to stop. Do you know what? That's okay. If it really doesn't work for you and the side effects are too much for you, then stop. But if you're not really feeling those side effects, or those side effects are manageable, and you've been prescribed them and you feel like it's the right choice, and all of the other things that I've already said in place first, then absolutely make sure that you take them for long enough for them to have an effect before you decide that they're just not going to work for you. That is one thing to look out for. So some simple things that you can do for yourself that can make it easier will come up right after this, because I was going to talk about talking therapies first. So the NHS would refer you for CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. You would normally end up either in one-to-one or in a group program. You'd normally get about 6 weeks or 6 sessions, and then that's it. That's pretty much how the NHS works. The great thing about it is it helps you. So the premise behind CBT is if you think about stuff differently, then you'll feel about stuff differently. And it's true to a point, but only to a limited point. The thing is, however you feel at any given moment, it's exactly how you're meant to feel, and it's okay to feel that way. How you react and respond to the way that you're feeling, and how you react and respond to the stimuli around you is what really makes the difference. And understanding that through CBT can be enough to help a lot of people. But it can also be enough to really frustrate a lot of people, because they get to a point where they know that they understand it better, and surely if they just think about things differently, things will be better. And particularly people who struggle with anxiety, something I specialize in and help a lot of people with, they overthink stuff, go through CBT, think about it more, get taught how to think about it more, and wonder why thinking about overthinking doesn't actually stop them from overthinking. Who'd know? Who would have thought? So there are other ways, and actually, for example, my approach, but don't feel like you have to talk to me. There's plenty of other people who can help you to not just think about things differently, but react and respond differently in such a way that you don't need to make it doesn't need to end in frustration, which so often it does through CBT. But hey, it is available on the NHS, which means it's free. So hey, it's definitely worth trying that first. And yes, if you do get really, really bad side effects, do stop. Absolutely. That's obviously with the antidepressants that we were talking about. But don't just stop and then forget it. There are so many different varieties just of SSRIs, let alone other forms of antidepressants. Pick up that conversation again with your doctor, or reach out and talk to a therapist like me, and see what help you can get. I can't prescribe drugs. I don't prescribe drugs, and I don't diagnose. You would need a psychiatrist for that, not a psychotherapist. Okay, cool. Right. So yeah, talking therapies have been proven time and time again to be useful with depression and with S.A.D as well, which is a form of depression. That's what I can help with. So get in touch and speak to me one-to-one. But there are things that you can do for yourself first. So exercise. Yeah, it's a bit cliche. You hear it all the time, but move more and you'll feel better. So doing what you can to fit that in. Now, the problem is, that all sounds good, but when you're feeling depressed, the last thing you feel like doing is getting up and going for a run. So look at ways that you can introduce some easy exercise that's something that's more enjoyable, something that you can find some enthusiasm for, or something that is non-negotiable. So find ways to work in little amounts of exercise into your day. If you're not enthusiastic about doing big chunks of exercise, little things like if you are working from home, so you're not out and about as much, and your office is downstairs, put something that you need to get throughout the day regularly upstairs to make you go up and down the stairs a few more times. Little things like that, if you're not doing any exercise at all, can really benefit by adding lots and lots of little bits of movement. Stress management. Managing your stress levels through the day will have a huge impact on A, your ability to sleep at night, and B, to your mood throughout the day and at night. So I've got a big comment that's come in here. Let's have a look. I've had both sides of this. I had the drugs that worked while I had therapy. I needed them. I was going crazy. I also had some I reacted very badly to, and the GP told me to just keep taking until I argued with them about it. Wow. Yeah, hopefully your GP is better than that. To anyone else watching this, it's really tough, and it really, unfortunately, general practitioners are exactly that. They're general practitioners. They're not experts in everything. No one can be an expert in everything. Don't always just assume that your doctor knows best. Discuss it with your doctor, absolutely. But don't always just assume that they're going to be correct. So when I said don't just stop, what I meant was, if you need to stop, stop, but then go back and have another conversation with your GP. Explain why you're stopping and why you have to and why that's right for you. Or talk to someone else, get a second opinion, or talk to a therapist. Don't just go, oh, these are giving me a bad side effects, so I'm going to stop and I'm not going to do anything else, and I'm going to give up and just accept that this is my fate. Challenged myself through the first lockdown to go up and down the stairs 10 times a day just to make myself move. Great example of it. I've had great GPs and bad ones. You can ask for another person to speak to if you're not convinced. Exactly, second opinion. So yeah, exercise, stress management. And exercise doesn't have to be hitting the gym. It can be going up and down the stairs. It can be going for a walk with a friend. We're limited on what we can do in lockdown, but one thing you've always been able to do is go for a walk, and one thing you can do currently is go for a walk with a friend. Great, do it if you can, and if you're feeling up to it. Stress management, managing your stress levels through the day. Diet, so particularly that you're likely to want to eat more carbs. One thing that you can do is find ways to, so one thing that when you in this weather and with S.A.D, when you're feeling down, you're craving heavy kind of foods, one great thing you can do is to make soups and stews and things like this, so that you can have some bread with it. You can, I'm not saying you can't have any carbs. Of course you can have carbs. But look at, like, if you make a stew or a casserole, you can have loads of vegetables in it. It can be really healthy, but it can also feel really warming and cozy and comfort food. And you can have a good chunk of carbs with it, but increase the amount of good veg and things that you're having with it as well. And you can really make small changes that can improve your diet if you're not eating brilliantly. If you want a pizza, have a pizza, but maybe look at reduce or think about what kind of bread or dough that you're using it on. Make pizzas on a wrap, for example. I'm not saying that that's going to be the same. Find what works for you. Enjoy those foods, but try and enjoy them in moderation and find other ways to balance your diet out. Yeah, improved diet will improve your mood. Exercise will improve your mood, and managing your stress levels through the day. These are all things that you can do for yourself. But you know what? Everyone's different, and it's not always that easy. So here's a really simple way that you can create a plan of attack that's right for you as an individual. Make a list, like a checklist of all the things that help you to improve your mood. Include absolute basic simple things that you do every day without even thinking about it, like get out of bed, if you do, or brush your teeth. Okay, you may not do them every day. It depends where you're at. If you're someone who's really struggling right now, and getting out of bed even is hard enough, please just give me a call and I'll help. But make a list that includes those really simple basic things that you do almost without thinking about it every day, right up to the stuff in the middle, like that putting on a particular soundtrack or music or album is going to make you feel good, but you don't necessarily think about it when you're feeling low. Put that on your list, right up to that going for a swim is going to really help you, but the chances of you feeling in the right mood to do that are quite slim. Whatever it might be. So make a list. Don't put pressure on yourself to make it the longest list in the world. A great way of doing it is to think about like a dozen things. So list 12 things that you could do. And then each day, so there's two ways that you can approach it then, is when you're feeling down, you can look at that list and go, actually, do you know what? Yeah, doing that does make me feel better. I'm going to do it. Whereas when you're in that funk and just feeling, it can be easy to forget about the stuff that makes you feel good. And things like putting on some good music, that doesn't take a lot of energy. It doesn't take a lot of effort. You can do that from your bed on your phone. So looking at that list in itself, when you're in a dip or in a bad mood, then that can really help give you enough energy to do the next thing on the list and the next thing on the list. Taking a shower is a great example, and actually showering first thing in the morning when you first get up can really help you to feel more energized and more alive and more awake. So if you can bring yourself to get into the shower first thing, then you're on to a winner. And the other thing that you can do if you want to is create that list of like a dozen things and see how many you can tick off each day. Now, remember, we are including things on there that you're not going to do every day, but that you'd like to do a couple of times a week, or maybe even just aspirational things that you'd like to do once a month. But each day, tick off how many you achieve. What this does is this allows you to, on some days, you're going to really push yourself. You're going to do more and you're going to feel great about it. But you might then the next day feel more tired. And you know what? That's okay as well. So you don't then lay there beating yourself up, feeling bad for not doing anything. You allow yourself to take the time that you need when you need that time. But at the same time, you're able to then look back at the end of the week and see what your average ticks have been over the week, or how well you're doing on a whole. And you're able to look and think and see how you're reacting and responding there. Hello, Facebook user. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so that covers an awful lot, but I hope that's been helpful. Of course, there's two other things that can be really, really good for you. One is booking a session with me. And if you are thinking about it and you would like some help and support with this, then I do offer a free initial consultation, so you're more than welcome to join. And the other thing, I've just created and released and published a track specific. So it's a self-hypnosis track. It's a relaxation track for you to listen to, which is specifically designed to help you improve your mood and overcome the effects of SAD, of winter imposed SAD. Yes, you are just an anonymous Facebook user. So at the top of the post, there should be a link. It's facebook.com/StreamYard. And if you click that, it'll allow us to see who you are, but don't worry if you don't want to. Bananas is at home, James, and I'm in the office. So yes, that track is available to my Relax Club members. So if you're watching this and you're a member of Relax Club, then you can get it in there. It's all included with everything else that's available from Relax Club. If you've never heard of Relax Club and you want to know what it's all about, look, I've even changed the logo. Then Relax Club is a simple monthly subscription service where there's a live hypnosis session every week, as well as loads of other tracks that you can listen back to. And at the moment, right now, there is a free trial. So if that's something that you're interested in, but you don't want to, you don't think you're interested in Relax Club and the rest of it, but you just want to listen to that track and see how it could help you, then check it out. Just head to, see, look, James loves Relax Club. So yeah, just head to mindaffinity.co.uk/Relax Club or relaxclub.online. There we go. I've put it in the comments, so you should be able to see in the comments depending on where you're watching. But there it is. Just head to relaxclub.online, and you can sign up for a week's trial for free. During that week's trial, you'll find it under the mindset tracks in the middle at the top, which will make sense. If you're watching this on the replay, by the way, there's a brand new Relax Club website coming soon. I don't know how soon. So by the time you watch this on the replay, you may be a little bit behind. And it might not be where I've just described it, but you will find it. And it's called I'm not sure what it's called off the top of my head. Oh yeah, it's called Unsad. That's what it's called, Unsad. So have a listen to that. I've previously given that track out to sample by a few people I know who have been diagnosed with seasonal affective disorder, and it's got some really positive reviews from them. So yeah, definitely, if that's something that you struggle with, head to Relax Club, grab your free trial, listen to that for as many times as you want over the next week. It's quite a short track, so you can listen to it every day. And it can really, really help you. Particularly good to start your day with. Okay, so this question is just for Duncan. What's my real opinion of Texans? Well, I'm guessing this Facebook user couldn't possibly be Michael Nagels. So that means I can be honest about my opinion of Texans, because if it was him, obviously I couldn't. I don't know. I think, see, now I know you were joking, but I'm going to give you my honest answer. My real opinion of Texans is that I would like to judge each of them as an individual. I've only met in person handful. I can only off the top of my head think of one that I've definitely met in person, though I have connected with and spoken with other people from Texas, so I can't really say. But hey, maybe that's not you. Maybe it's someone else from Texas, or maybe it's someone who just has a thing for Texans. Who knows? Right, I'm going to stop waffling now. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate you really appreciate you taking the time to tune in. It's been great having you here. Remember to check out Relax Club. And if you know anyone who's struggling with SAD, or you know anyone who would like some tips on depression in general, or you know anyone who knows someone who's struggling with SAD, please do share this video. If you're watching in my group, then you can't share it directly from the group, but you can either head to my Mind Affinity page or head to YouTube and search for Mind Affinity, and you can find it on there as well. There's like, yes, I get it was a sales pitch, right? I said that you should come and join Relax Club, absolutely. But even forgetting that bit, you've got like nearly an hour of content here, which is all specifically designed to help people. That's what I want to do. So if you know anyone who is struggling or who might be, then or you know things you might not even know, so share it publicly. Do a post on your Facebook page, put it out there, let people know that there's lots that they can do to look after themselves if they are struggling with SAD, or even if it's not seasonally affected, but any form of depression. And you're very welcome, Adele. Just before I go, I'll answer some of the silly comments that are coming in. What would I say is Zoe's best trait? Well, there's so many to choose from. But given that I'm live on Facebook, I'm probably going to have to be too polite to give my honest answer. And her worst, well, that would take far too long. Yeah, no, Zoe is wonderful, but I'm not going to say any more about that now. For I feel it may detract from the purpose of this live video. Thanks everyone so much for tuning in, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Cheers.